Hello and welcome back. I'd like to focus on paragraph 263 of the legal case 3SA991. In it, the judge explores the time when the defendants and their associates worked to sabotage the translation work we were doing with Grégoire Perrat, a former member of the French Anthroposophical Society and whistleblower of Steiner Education. The judge states that, if this were evidence of a wish to damage the claimants, or to neutralize their publications in relation to Steiner schools generally, one would expect vastly greater illustration of it in the array of email, tweet, and blog material, but there is none. Video 10, The Consistent Thread, shows you numerous examples of an attempt to neutralize our publications in relation to Steiner schools generally, all of which, and more, the judge was aware of. So how can he say no evidence exists when it was all presented at trial? Further, he quotes an email from Mrs. Bing to Dr. Lewis at paragraph 79, where she warns him about us. In that email, Mrs. Bing paints a truly horrible picture of us. But the judge omits to tell potential readers that this email was thoroughly explored at the trial and exposed as a tissue of lies. Let's have a look at some of it. Angel is a fucking astrologer. No, she isn't. Claiming Angel is an astrologer to a skeptic is designed to get Angel dismissed as a crackpot or a quack whose opinion is of little worth. They say they will take me to the airport if I clean their house. This complaint by Joe, Mrs. Bing's son, is mentioned in many emails. She had offered her son, who she billed as reliable, to come and help us at a time of great stress and need for my family, and I'll deal with this event in a later video. But suffice it to say for now that I had asked him to help me tidy up the kitchen, living room, and bathroom before I drove 180 kilometers to take him to the airport and back. I would be gone for hours, and I didn't want Angel, who's disabled and who only had just returned after spending a week with her dying mother, to have to do it while looking after our 3 children. I asked for his help. I'd even offered to take him to the local train station instead, which was only minutes away, if he didn't want to help me clear up, so I could come home quicker and do it all myself. He chose to help, and then went and whined about it to his parents. This request for help was used by humanist Mrs. Bing as a springboard to attack Angel, spreading lies from the banal, "She is slovenly too," says Joe, never mind the fact that Angel wasn't even there while Joe was in France, to disability abuse. Joe says she's not walking impaired, she's just fat. Going back to the email the judge quotes, she wrote, "Steve fleeced Joe for all the money he had on him." That's another fabrication. I didn't fleece anyone. I asked him for £40, an amount that had been agreed between his parents and myself and that he was fully aware of. Although, considering how she broke off communication and spread all these lies about us afterwards, it really does sound like we were being set up. Then it gets worse. Richard had a long phone conversation with Angel about her mother's cancer treatment, from which he'd drawn a few conclusions. Richard is a GP and academic, and an expert in primary care mental health, including personality disorder. I explored in video 6, Mental Health Smears, how she spread the totally fabricated notion that Angel was mentally ill, and here she is again, using her husband's medical qualifications to imply that Angel is mentally unstable, something Dr. Lewis runs with when he asks her later, "Just wanted to check that he was not part of the personality disorder team." We don't know who the "he" mentioned refers to, but the personality disorder team? That's us. And that insinuation by Mrs. Bing grew to confirmation when he later says, "Hard to tell someone straight up that it is the politeness of the psychopath." And then she wrote this. She was making it very clear that she expects ex-Steiner parents to use their own identities to whistleblow bad experiences at Steiner schools. If not, she feels pressure should be brought to bear on these families to come clean. There isn't one shred of truth to any of this. We already had a methodology, which I mentioned in video 3, Covert Involvement. Hiring actors to recreate interviews with parents in order to fully protect their identities. When I challenged Mrs. Bing during the trial about this, not her, her lawyers, or Dr. Lewis were able to locate anything we'd written regarding us pressuring any survivor of Steiner Education, which isn't surprising, because we never did. Finally, She goes back to the grooming word, which I explored in video 8, an extreme of possible usages, when she states, "And then to have these accusations sent to journalists, one of whom forwarded an email asking me what I would like to do about it." We didn't send any accusations to any journalist. Mrs. Bing was unable to find any email in disclosure of a journalist asking her what to do about such accusations, and that's unsurprising, because none exist. But the judge prevented us from exploring this further at trial to show malice on her part. There was, however, an email from a journalist named Frances Gilbert, sent to Mrs. Bing just 5 days before she wrote to Dr. Lewis. In it, that journalist forwards one of our emails to her and asks her what he should do about something. What was that something? It was us asking him if he could help us promote the fact that the Human Rights Commission of New Zealand was considering taking on our case against the school. Did we mention anything about Mrs. Bing grooming us or our child? No, of course not. But it didn't stop Mrs. Bing telling that journalist that her and her husband believed Angel to be unstable and should be ignored, and then later distort the content of that email to tell Dr. Lewis that we were telling journalists things which we never did. As you can see, this letter is riddled with lies and is actually the perfect example of Mrs. Bing trying to neutralize their publications in relation to Steiner schools generally by implying that we are dangerous and mentally unstable in order to get us shunned, which is the very course of conduct that the judge could easily identify at the pre-trial review, as I explored in video 4, the strawman argument. Not only has this been totally dismissed by the same judge in the final judgment, he reproduces these attacks without telling you they're lies, thereby encouraging any reader to think that all the lies she's told about us are true. And this is then reinforced further by the judge claiming that there is no evidence of Mrs. Bing and Dr. Lewis working to undermine us and our work when it's all right there in front of him. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.